Pesticide laws and regulations. This presentation will give you an overview of laws and regulations as they affect pesticide use by maintenance gardeners. You will learn about the agencies that regulate pesticides, how to get your pesticide applicator certificate, and reporting and record-keeping requirements. We will also discuss the pesticide label, storage and disposal of pesticides, and personal protective equipment. 3 government agencies are important in the regulation of pesticides in California. At the local level, the County Agricultural Commissioner's Office enforces the laws and may develop local policies regarding pesticides in your county. The California Department of Pesticide Regulation, or DPR, enforces laws and regulations statewide and develops regulations for California. DPR registers pesticides and also is the agency that issues licenses and certificates for pesticide applicators and pest control business licenses. The U.S. Environmental Protection Agency writes pesticide regulations for the whole country and also registers pesticides at the national level. Your County Agricultural Commissioner will be your main point of contact for information regarding pesticide regulations. The Agricultural Commissioner enforces laws at the local level, issues fines, inspects storage facilities and applications, audits pesticide records, and receives pesticide use reports. Visit the Agricultural Commissioner's Office to find out how to get licensed and to get information on how to use pesticides safely and legally. Who needs a DPR license or certificate? You must have a valid pesticide applicator certificate or license if you apply pesticides as part of your job, or you must be supervised by someone with a license or certificate. This training is directed at people who are preparing for the maintenance gardener or Q category of pest control. For this category, pest control work is only incidental. Maintenance gardeners do not use restricted pesticides. The pesticides they use are home-use pesticides. If pest control is a significant part of the services you offer your customers, or if you use restricted pesticides, you must get a Category B landscape maintenance license. There is a different exam and a different study guide for that licensing category. Anyone paid to do pest control work must own their own licensed pest control business or be employed by a licensed pest control business. There is a special category maintenance gardener pest control business license. These businesses are licensed by the California Department of Pesticide Regulation. No exams are required to get a pest control business license. However, you must fill out a form, pay a fee, and provide specific information as shown here. Every pest control business must have at least one licensed pesticide applicator working for the business. This person must be identified on the form. If this person quits, you must find another licensed employee if you intend to apply pesticides or become licensed yourself. Businesses must also provide proof of financial responsibility, workers' compensation insurance, and a corporation or fictitious business name statement. Licenses must be renewed every 2 years. Continuing education is required to maintain your certified applicator certificate. Once you become certified, you must renew your certification every 2 years. If you're licensed in the maintenance gardener Category Q area, you will require 8 hours of continuing education every 2 years, including 2 hours of training related to laws and regulations. People licensed in the landscape maintenance pest control area, Category B, require 20 hours of continuing education. Your county agricultural commissioner, the DPR website, or professional organizations such as PAPA can help you find continuing education courses. You must file a pesticide use report every month with your county agricultural commissioner. If you work in 2 counties, you will need to fill out a form for each county. You must file these reports every month, even if you don't apply pesticides. These reports give a summary of the pesticide application you have made during the month. This is the form you will need to fill out. For instance, if you applied a Roundup product on several properties over the course of the month, you can summarize these, noting the total ounces used, the number of applications you made, and the type of landscape you applied it on, as well as the U.S. EPA registration number. You must include a separate entry for each product with a different EPA registration number. You will use the code 30 Landscape Maintenance Pest Control. In addition to the monthly pesticide use report, which you submit to your county agricultural commissioner, you must keep records of each pesticide application you have made over the last 2 years. You can make up your own forms to maintain this information, but it must be available for the county agricultural commissioner to inspect on request. The information you keep on these records is more detailed and specific than the monthly reports that you file with the commissioner. Records must include property owner, date applied, location, plant or site treated, the size of the area or the number of plants treated, the amount applied, the name of the pesticide, and the EPA registration number for the pesticide. Before you apply pesticides, you must get consent from the property owners and notify them of when you are applying the pesticides. It's also a good idea to put up signs in areas where there might be a lot of heavy foot traffic, although this is not required. Be sure to get the property owner's permission first. Remove the notification signs when it's safe to enter the property again. With home-use pesticides, this is often after the pesticide has dried. However, check the label for guidance on when it is safe to enter. Much of the information you need to use pesticides safely is on the pesticide label. Never use pesticides in conflict with the label. Labels vary a lot in format. They all have the same basic information, but it's often located in different areas of the label on different products. Usually the biggest words on the label are the brand name or the trade name, in this case, Ortho Weed Be Gone. Don't confuse the trade name with the chemical name or active ingredient of the pesticide. Here are 3 things to look closely for on the label. The active ingredient is the toxic chemical that controls the pest. It is very important that you know what the active ingredient is in the pesticide you're using. The active ingredient on this label is chlorothalonil. Usually the active ingredient only makes up a fraction of the total amount of product in the container. The signal word, which is shown here in large letters, on this label, it's caution, gives you an indication of the toxicity of the pesticide. Also look on the label for the EPA registration number. The EPA registration number is shown at the bottom of this label on the right-hand side. This is the specific number for this product, and it must be written on your pesticide use forms. It's also useful if you're trying to look up information about a product. Most non-restricted pesticide products used around homes and landscapes have the signal words caution or warning, but a few products with danger signal words are still on the shelves. Choose the safest, effective products that you can when you're applying pesticides in landscapes. Pesticides with caution signal word present the least hazard. However, there's still a great variation in the hazard of these relatively safe products, with some being essentially non-toxic and others toxic if, for instance, substantial quantities are swallowed. Signal words apply primarily to human health. Many pesticides with the caution signal word may be very toxic to fish, honeybees, desirable plants, or beneficial organisms. Also, signal words do not provide information related to cancer or other long-term problems. The precautionary statements part of the label provides information about human and environmental hazards associated with a pesticide. Read this information carefully to make sure you will not be endangering people or wildlife in the areas you treat. This part of the label will also tell you how to avoid problems. It also gives information on how and where to store and dispose of pesticide products and provides information on first aid to apply if there is an accident. The directions for use part of the label tells you how to mix up and apply the product. It is a violation of the law if you don't follow these directions exactly. Always measure the product carefully and use the recommended application equipment and safety equipment. The directions for use part of the label also tells what plants and sites you can use the product on and what pests will be controlled. It may also include special restrictions for use of the product. Use pesticides only on plants or sites specified on the label. Do not use pesticides labeled for indoor use outdoors. Do not use pesticides labeled for ornamental use on food crops. If the plant is not listed on the label, it could be injured by the pesticide. In the case of food plants, residues from the pesticide may make the food unsafe to eat. Look at this label and identify what plants and pests it can be used against. Can it be used on turf or vegetables? No. This product is only listed for use against specific diseases on the listed ornamentals, including azalea. Store all pesticides in a locked cabinet or container. Post warning signs on the cabinet if the signal word on any of the pesticides you are storing is danger or warning. If you store or transport pesticides in a container other than the original pesticide container, it must be properly labeled. This includes backpack or compressed air sprayers that you may be moving from site to site in your truck. The label must include this information: the name and address of the person or business responsible for the container, the identity of the pesticide, either the active ingredient and the product name, and the signal word. Never store pesticides in any kind of container that's commonly used for food or drink. This is to help prevent accidental pesticide poisoning, especially to children. Pesticides must never be transported in the same vehicle compartment as people, food, or animal feed. Never place them in the cab of the truck. You must secure pesticide containers in the back of the truck in a way that prevents spills or movement. Don't leave them loose in the truck bed. Placing pesticides in an enclosed, secured locker in the back of the truck is ideal. You can also secure pesticide containers or sprayers using bungee cords or placing them in a sealed and secured plastic bin. Also remember to label service containers such as backpack sprayers with the name of the responsible party, the product name, and the signal word. How to dispose of pesticide containers and excess pesticides. An empty, triple-rinsed, clean pesticide container with home use labeling can be disposed of in the trash can. However, it must be triple-rinsed. If pesticides remain in the container, you must either use the material up in a legal manner or take it to an approved hazardous materials site to dispose of it. Pesticide containers with pesticides in them cannot be placed in the trash. Unused pesticides should not be poured down drains. You can find the location of the nearest hazardous waste dump by checking with your agricultural commissioner. Empty containers of concentrated pesticides must be triple rinsed before you place them in the trash. Ready-to-use containers, such as squirt bottles, don't need to be triple rinsed. Always wear goggles and gloves. Where possible, combine the triple rinsing with mixing up your last spray from the container. Use the rinsate water as the dilution water for your spray. Follow these numbered steps while rinsing. Number 1, drain the last drops from the pesticide container into the mix tank. 2, add the water to the pesticide container. 3, replace the lid and shake the container. 4, drain the rinse solution into the mix tank. Number 5, repeat these steps 2 more times so the container is triple rinsed. Number 6, punch a hole in the bottom of the container. And 7, apply the mix in the pesticide tank to a site that is listed on the label. If you have employees who are working for you and applying pesticides but don't have a pesticide applicator certificate or license, you must train them every year. You must also train them each time they have to apply a pesticide they have not used or been trained about previously. You need to keep a written record of the training signed by each employee at your workplace for 2 years. The Agricultural Commissioner may ask to inspect these records at any time. A sample pesticide training record is shown here. The record form needs to describe the materials used for training and the topics covered, as well as the name of each trainee and the trainer. Topics that must be covered are included on the Pesticide Handler Training Checklist on page 29 of the Category Q Study Guide. You must plan ahead for emergency medical care for your employees or yourself. Be sure everyone knows the name and location of the clinic or hospital emergency room they should go to in case of pesticide illness. The employer is responsible for transportation. Do not tell employees to find their own way to the medical facility. Post the name, address, and telephone number at the work site or in the work vehicle. Shown here is a sample form for this information. This form is available also in the Q Study Guide book. Every person who handles pesticides should know the importance of wearing and correctly using personal protective equipment, PPE. Eye protection, such as goggles or safety glasses with brow and temple protection, and chemical-resistant gloves are always required and must be provided by employers. Other equipment, such as coveralls, boots, bibs, or chemical-resistant headgear may be required when using certain pesticides. Always check the label to confirm PPE requirements. All employers must also provide enough water, soap, and clean towels for thorough washing of hands and face. This presentation has given an overview of laws and regulations related to pesticide use by maintenance gardeners. Remember, if you are ever in doubt about proper use, check the label and contact your county agricultural commissioner. This is the end of the presentation for Chapter 1, Pesticide Laws and Regulations. This would be a good time for you to do the exercises for Chapter 1 in the workbook and review the sample exam questions in the workbook or in the study guide for Chapter 1.